So good morning. So what I wanted to do is kind of introduce you to my daily practice. Something I've been doing now for over a month, consistently, daily, uh, without forcing myself to do it. I'm finding that it really is making a big difference in my life. Um, I look at like anything else that we're trying to learn or master, whether it be an instrument, whether it be golf or a sport, or even training our body at the gym, that repetitions are essential. And a lot of times with therapy, certainly my therapy or my coaching sessions, they're once a week, and yeah, you get some homework usually. You do some kind of action, but that's a lot of time that you're kind of losing to really grow. So with a daily practice, you're getting the daily repetition, whatever it is you want to work on, be aware of, grow, what direction you want to grow in, or what you want to learn about. So it's really the sky's the limit for you as well. So I've created a daily practice out here in my woods, in my backyard, which is I can still see my house. So I'm guessing 1,000 feet, 500 feet into the woods. There's a road to the left of me, which I can still hear cars, which works for me. It works for me because in my daily practice, what I'm really trying to accomplish is not create a practice that separates me completely from the real world, where things are actually harder to stay in a calmer state, because those are where the triggers happen. That's where life happens. It doesn't necessarily happen out here in the woods. But what's great about out here in the woods is you get to learn about yourself in a calmer, less distracted place. And there's something about being in nature that just gets me into this calm, centered, creative, connected space. It just facilitates the work I'm trying to do. So for me, nature is a great place. I think you could do your daily practice anywhere. You could do it in your living room. You could do it in an office, a meditation room. I think you would want to, certainly control or reduce the distractions. But again, I think those are just my beliefs. It's really up to you what you want to do with it. So I've tried different kinds of practices as well. Exercise is a good one. I tried to use that as a daily practice. I've meditated for years, um, and they've worked. They've helped for sure, but not to the level that this practice is really helping me with now. So, what I really want to do is just kind of show you what this is like, kind of talk you through the process really quick. Um, so, what I do is walk out into the woods, spray myself with bug spray. I usually bring a coffee. I usually do it in the morning before I do anything else, after I've woken up a little bit. And then I do something that I call arriving, which again, it's just a name that I use. And I look at it like as if you're going to a party or, you're going somewhere new. You kind of need to settle in to that space, right? You need to arrive there. And when I say that, it means all of me. So a lot of times I'll show up at a party and there's a part that's clearly arrived. I mean, I'm there, a part of me is there, but it's my anxious, nervous part, the part that's really controlled, holding back what I should say. I'm not really at myself. I'm not at ease yet. So the same thing happens when I get out into the woods. It's not the same kind of anxiety, of course, but when I get out into the woods, uh, I'm noticing I'm bringing my life with me. So there are parts of me that are very active, and thinking about the day usually is very typical. What I have to get done, or how I slept, or how people are in my life, my family, what's going on for them, my dog, is she all set? So just these, my mind is already awake and starting to really work. So when I come out here, I want to arrive and I want to get beyond the place of just all that thinking. And so first I try to connect with the woods. And let me just get a sip here. I do that. I usually, so I've created a circle here, and this is kind of my seat. And what I do is I usually put my foot up here because it's comfortable. And then I just kind of look out into the woods here. And I'm really trying to listen to the sounds of nature. I find that to be soothing for me. And all the while I'm breathing deeply, really trying to go inside and relax. I even hear cars go by, and that's fine too. I'm really just trying to pay attention to what's here now, what's in this space now. Uh, so I'll just quickly do that, let myself get centered. So I'm here. I consider this, I've arrived. Uh, it doesn't take me long anymore to actually do that. I ask the parts of me that are, talking and wanting some attention to step back. And what does that mean? That means separate from me a little bit, so that I have more space, a little less of the thinking mind is really how I like to say it. I just feel more relaxed and more calm. So then I move on to my step two, which is I use my iPad with the Apple Pencil, which I love. It's just been a great way to take notes for myself. So I pull up my notes app. I use Notability. And I usually just, start with I write arrival and, how have I arrived? How do I know it? And again, I feel calm. That's a huge one for me. I feel very present, aware of this setting. And like I said, then I move into the next phase, which is kind of what I call befriending. So I'm trying to keep this in an ABC to keep it simple for myself. So befriending means making friends with the parts of me that I'm aware of. So as I sit here, and I do this many different ways, I don't want it so structured so that a part of me is really driving this with it has to be this structured, this rigid. That just doesn't work for me in this space. I want it to be more spacious, more creative, more free for me. So uh, I usually just check inside real quick, close my eyes again, go inside and see for the day how I want to start befriending the different parts of myself. So I'm going to do that. And I try to notice what I'm noticing. Uh, so there's definitely a part of me that notices, and that's okay. I call that my inner guide. And my guide helps me notice, what I'm feeling, sensing. A lot of times I'll do a complete body scan, starting, down at my feet, going all the way up to my head, just really trying to notice what I'm feeling in my body. Because for me, what I'm feeling in my body is a good indication that there is a part of me present. And so when I'm scanning, I want to notice those parts, notice what I'm feeling, sensing. It could be thoughts that pop up as well. And again, the thoughts, just like in meditation, the thoughts come and go, and I allow that to happen. If it keeps coming up, then I'll turn towards that thought and give it some attention because I'm assuming that's what it wants. The good thing about sensing things in your body is those don't seem to go away as easy as even if I breathe. So, for instance, right now I'm feeling a lot of tension in my stomach. And I try to breathe in and again create that space and send some of that breath to my stomach. And that does soften for sure, but it's still there. So again, that would be a part that wants some attention to me from me. And I just quickly try to befriend that, make a connection with it. Kind of like at a party, an acquaintance, just trying to get a little information, let it know I see it. Hopefully it sees me. Yeah, and I'm hearing it's an anxious part about doing this video. how much we're going to have to edit it. Are we going to make it too long? So it's a part of me that wants me to do this well, not bore people, but yet get the message across. We're not scripting this, so I think it's feeling a lot of the anxiety around just letting go and letting this happen without a script, letting it be more natural. And I think this part of me isn't as comfortable in that place where it just allows things to happen. It wants to plan, take more control, think things through. So I'm noticing it's a part of me that I know quite well, actually, now. It's a part that I call my planner and worrier. And it's fine being called a worrier because it sees worrying as an asset. It thinks about things that could happen. And then it also helps me plan how to deal with those things. So it's a wonderful asset for me. Now, of course, this part can get extreme in its worry and really grip down on my stomach. And then I have a hard time doing much else. So this part kind of takes over for me. So if you would if you see me sitting on this log and kind of in this circle, and if you could imagine, I have different parts of myself around me, which I do. I have objects that I've created to hold the energy, the image of my attention when I want to, connect with them. They're out around me. But imagine that the worry part was sitting here where you see me, and say that this is Dawn, this is the guide here, feeling very open-hearted towards all my parts. When my worry planner part turns more into an anxious part and grips down on my stomach, I'm not seeing these other parts. It's almost like it doesn't let me. It really just wants my attention. And in fact, it just wants to take control. It just wants to take over. It wants to lead. It wants to lead. And that's why I see this daily meditation practice, it's not a daily meditation practice, my daily practice that I'm calling a guided daily practice, because I'm the guide and I'm working on my guide, um, is a leadership process. It's about becoming a better leader for myself, for my own inner world, and then taking that out into the outer world. So anyway, I'll continue with the scan. I'm seeing some kind of image behind my eyes too that I'm not familiar with. Some kind of an animal or a face. That's interesting. And I'm just asking if it's willing to step back. It is. Can I check in with it a little later? And it's like, yeah, sure. So after I finish my scan and my thoughts and, checking in to make sure I'm still present. And how do I know I'm still present? That's a really, it's something I've been working on. And I think it's very important is I say, how do I feel towards this space? How do I feel towards the woods, the wilderness? How do I feel towards really anything I want to choose? And then I get a sense of, okay, who is helping me interpret what I'm seeing? And if there are parts that say, oh, it's buggy out here, let's worry about the bugs. Or there's a squirrel that seems to show up often when I'm out here. Let's worry about that squirrel. It might attack us. If I'm noticing those things quite strongly, then I know I'm not in my more centered guidership place. So I ask those parts to step back, and I do that by just not telling them to go away and say, "Look, I hear you. Thank you for bringing that information about the bugs. We put our bug spray on. As far as the squirrel goes, we've been okay. I think it's curious and trying to understand. And we have a knife in our bag and some mace in our backpack. And if we need to deal with it, we will. So I think we're good. So it's allowing those parts of me that need to know they're okay, that they can trust me to lead them, that I'll keep them safe. And then they back up. And then they back up. So how do I feel towards the wilderness now? I feel connected with it. I always have a sense of awe towards the wilderness, and when I really try to connect and really think about it, it's amazing the model that nature is for life. Um, it just sits here, and it grows, and it breathes the air and the earth, and then it evolves and parts of it break off and it changes, but it's life in a way. So when I start having those types of thoughts, um, I know I'm connected here. I'm not judging it. I'm just in it. I'm just in it. So after I've done my scan, then I go around my little circle here, and you can see some of in the video these representations I put out here. So if I just quickly go around, I have some sticks here on the ground. You probably can't see, but it's a reverent stick. It's a part of me that I call my reverent, my wise part of me. My parts love this part. It makes them feel really safe. It's like having a wise grandfather that when you're feeling down or you're feeling you don't know what to do, you check in with that, grandfather, and he soothes you. He just knows what to say and knows what to do, and that's a wisdom part of me that's been trained in me over time from some great mentors in my life. Right now, it's holding a part of me that's very creative. So that's a more vulnerable, exiled. I call it an exiled part. And exiled means I pushed it away because I had to survive. Other parts of me pushed it away. And it's a creative part of me. It's small, has red hair, loves to draw, loves art, loves Disney music, loves real like song and dance. And it holds so much energy for me. But it still has some fears about being out in the world because of being judged. Certainly, a guy my size and supposed to be masculine and strong, and that goes against those that stereotype. So in the past it's been hurt when it shows itself. So now it's staying safe here, and when I bring that part out, I make sure it stays safe. Dawn as the guide from a very compassionate place. Then I have another part here I call my hero. That's sticking up in the ground here. Okay, and basically that's a part of me who it's a long story, a lot of work with this part recently. And this is the part that'll actually overeat. This is a part that'll watch TV. And I call it my hero because it saves me from the pain, what it believes is the pain of keeping my attention and feeling a lot of frustration, feeling a lot of criticism about doing something. So it takes me right out. And I've named it the hero. It wanted that name. Because it sees itself as a super protector. If no one else can protect the part of me that feels all that shame and pain, this part can. So I'm still working on my connection with this, and I have other parts that are kind of working with this part for myself. I have my backpack that I always bring out here, and that's my adventurer. It's like a 9-year-old part of me that loves to be out here. Used to love to go hiking, had a G.I. Joe backpack. Sometimes I let it take over if I take a walk or a hike. And it loves just the excitement, the enthusiasm, and I can feel it now coming out of me when I talk about it. So next to it, it's another stick that, again, that's my warrior planner. I have another part over here that I call Manager X. It's a part that drives me. Again, these are all great parts, and that's a great part. It really pushes me to get things done, but it's been rebelled against by the rest of my inner team, and they don't respond as well as they used to because they've been pushed for so long. So Manager X is working with a coaching part of me to try to become a better leader. And that part wants to do that because ultimately it wants what's best for me. I have up in the tree, there's a feather that represents my critic. And I have many critics. The Manager X is a critic. The Planner Warrior can be a critic saying I'm not doing enough. So critics show up in many ways for me, and I believe for many people. But anyway, my critic up there is my big critic, the one that has now converted into more of a continuous improvement critic. What we can do better, what we can do differently, how we can get the results we want. But it's learning to not do it in a shaming way. Like if I don't do it, I'm bad. So that's my critic, and it likes that broad perspective. It's really a knowledgeable part. It really understands efficiency and good ways to do things. So that's that. I have another part over here called my Rise Up part, and it's a part of me that basically I just started doing deeper work. Now I've worked on these parts in different ways, but they're starting to show up for me differently. This is a part of me who always feels like they have to do stuff. Nothing's a choice. Everything is work. Must be done, should be done, and it really felt the burden of that. So it let go of the burden of everything having to be done, and it wants to choose, or it wants to do things. So that's been a very important piece of work for myself lately. I have two more other smaller parts out here. I call them, well, they call themselves, actually, they help me name them as I go into that more creative space. Um, it's sensitivity and opportunity. So those are just two great qualities of myself. I missed one over here too, lying on the ground. I call it game film. And I had a part in this. It's that part who would replay the day's events with the critic and with a critical voice of what went wrong, where I screwed up, really inducing a shameful part of me, really making me feel like I was just worthless. So I've worked with this part and the parts that it protects to give it a new role. It gave itself a new role, which I call game film. So every day I check in with it and say, how'd yesterday go? You know, what information do you want to bring? And it's bringing me the data, the information, but without the interpretations and the assumptions and judgments that used to come with it. I want the data. I mean, I want to live a good life and I need to know where I can improve. So he's been great for me. Um, so that's my roll call. Well, I'm going to do a roll call now. Those are the parts I do the roll call with, just to see if they have anything for me, any commitments that I might have made yesterday that I didn't do. You know, do they need some attention from me? How are they doing? How's my leading going? Are they aware of me? Do they feel seen? Do they feel understood? So again, I call that befriending because I'm deepening the friendship with these parts of myself. I'm learning more about them. They're learning more about me as a leader. A lot of these parts saw me as this, they saw me at the age in which they started to come alive in my system. So they saw me as this young kid who couldn't lead. And these parts had to lead for me and had to take over to keep me safe. And now they're starting to say, whoa, you know, here's a guy who's made it to 49, accomplished all these things. He is capable. And he has these other parts of him that are capable. So we can back up a little bit and let Don do more of the leading of his life. So uh, anyway, so that's, you know, the roll call. And I'm going to go in and do that now and just see what I hear from them. I like to go inside to do that. It just works better for me. And I imagine these objects out here. And I always ask the question, how do I feel towards these objects? Because that helps to tell me if another part, maybe one I'm not as aware of or I don't know, is jumping in to offer narrative, judgment, whatever it is towards these parts. So I want to make sure I remain in my guide part, you know. And again, I use the term self-led, which means it's experiencing a lot of the uh, qualities of what it means to be self-led in the internal family systems model: creative, confident, courageous, calm, clear, compassionate, curious, connected. There's eight. I'm not sure if I just named seven or eight, but you get the idea. It's a really higher self place. So those are the feelings I want to have when I say, how do I feel towards my game film part? I want to make sure I feel curious and compassionate or connected, whatever it is. Not, oh, it's really, you know, causing me a lot of problems. It won't let me live. It's constantly replaying the day. Okay, so that's another part of me that's judging like that. And then I check in with that part. So I'm just going to see how I'm doing. Yeah, I'm not hearing much from them today. No real needs or concerns. Game Film wants to review yesterday, which is kind of what its role's been. So we'll definitely do that. I'm going to, as the guy, the leader here, check back in with that anxious part um, that had those concerns earlier and see where they're at. No, that part's good. That part's backed up and has given me plenty of space. However, when I just went inside, I noticed. Um, See, game film also works with a therapist part of me or a coach part of me or a professor part, depends, an analysis who says, are there any pieces of work from yesterday too, beyond what game film is going to show me as far as data goes. But, can we recall any places where we got stuck, where we tried to work through it, but just really couldn't and needed to get to more of a space like this where we could do a little deeper work, deeper connecting, less distractions? And yeah, there's some work there for sure. So I'll just take a note of that. So now I'm going to go back to game film and see what it has for me from yesterday, kind of going through the day. And just rehashes from the morning to the night. And it's even reminding me of the things I did well yesterday too. So any intentions that I made yesterday, did I keep them? And I did. Um, any intention for me is just, it's kind of like a promise. But again, the rigidity of a promise or a commitment can be alarming in my system because again, it moves me right back into this place, this part of have to. I don't want to live that way of having to. Now, of course, keeping your commitments is important, but I want to keep my commitments because that's who I want to be. So I'm choosing to keep my commitments. And I'm not doing it because I have to. I'm doing it because I want to. It's who I want to be. It's how I want to live my life. See, there's a different energy associated with that. So intentions are commitments, essentially. I intend to do this today. Sometimes things are going to get in the way that keep me from doing it. And I want to make sure um, I allow myself kind of the gentleness to not beat myself up when something doesn't happen, that I'm working it. I'm working these things. So after I do the whole roll call process and I'm befriending, then I move to a deeper step called connecting, which is a C. So you can see it's A, B, C. It's moving to a deeper connection now. So now it's really getting into a deeper piece of work. I can do it with a intention I might have for the day. Um, let's say I want to make 5 calls to some friends and see if they've heard about my new coaching business or the relaunch of the coaching business. And I say, okay, so that's an intention. Let's work on that a little bit. And I imagine I'm doing it. What do I get? What happens to me when I start to, do that intention? What happens in my body? What do I notice? Thoughts, sensations. I notice the fear. And I'll connect with the fear and really do some work on it and see if I can get to a place where I understand why I'm getting the fear, what it's about, what's the history, maybe offer it some hope, of a different way to do things. So anyway, the C is deeper work. And it could be something from earlier in the session too, earlier in the practice of going back and finishing up some work or finishing up some work that I did out here yesterday that I need to go back to. Whether it be, working with a part who was really sharing some intimate details, going back and getting more. So finishing that work. Every day, it's almost like a bookmark, putting it in a book, and I come back to the chapter as well and check in and see if there's anything that needs to be done there. Um, so let me just do that. All right, so I've made the intentions for today. Uh, I know what they are. I've got some agreement inside. I'm going to take those as actions. And now I'm going to close. I call it like closing this, this process and just checking in again, quickly going around. Everybody all set? Am I still in this high energy, this self energy. I've made an ongoing commitment to always stay, not always, I mean, again, that's such so black and white, but to stay in the place of observing, witnessing my own life, guiding myself, and then guiding myself through it. So I have an ongoing commitment with my noticer, who just notices what's coming up for me in the moment. Make sure that's still good. All my parts still are good with that. Again, making notes about the actions, things I want to do, intentions. And that's it. I kind of close it. That would be, I'd be done. And then I'd go back to the real world, back to the daily, the family, the business, um, eating, exercise. Excuse me. Um, and I think that's where you deepen the work. And that's where you take what you do here and you practice it. You the new awarenesses I got during my morning practice, I take out there and I see how they go. So if it was maybe a metaphor is golf, if I was to go to the driving range and work on something in the swing, what's really important is taking that swing to the course, right? I mean, I'm trying to get better at golf, let's say. I don't know, maybe it's a musical instrument. I practice so that I can get together with friends and play better. You're trying to improve in a way, but not like you have to, but you're trying to, improve. And you need to practice to do that. And a lot of our old habits, you'll quickly fall back to your old habits. So let's say my golf swing, I'm working on something with how I take the club away. As soon as I get to the course, the old parts of me want to take over because they're feeling the competitive, and I want to just go right back to my old swing. So you got to be very deliberate. So I deepen the work by being very deliberate in my life with the guide, with these other parts, sort of with the new awareness, and I kind of practice. So again, today when I make calls, I'm really going to observe and really connect and soothe those parts of me that get nervous and make the calls and start trying to feel more confident, see if that's what happens after I make a call instead of being very afraid and just can't make another one. Whatever it is, I'm trying to almost rewire my brain in a way. That's what this practice is doing for me. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too long. I hope it wasn't too detailed. I hope it was detailed enough. See, there's a part of me that always has that concern that I'm doing it well. Um, and I thank that part for that because that's better for you. If I'm trying to create a video that other people can watch, it does matter that it's accomplishing that it works for you. But I think what's important is getting that feedback from you before I start to say it didn't work, right? Um, let everyone tell me. So that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you got to see everything here. I'm actually going to shine on the parts real quick. Scan around just so you know. So again, there's opportunity, and there's rise up. There's, again, where I sit, and you can see here my planner part. There's a bunch of parts in the ground. I think you get the idea. People can say it's kind of woo woo, and what it's not about that. It's about having something that can take these things out of my head, which can get very complicated and hard to keep my attention on it. Is I take them outside of myself and just use these sticks, and it's actually mostly sticks, to represent them so that I can almost have dialogues with them. It creates space inside for me to really work with these parts. It's almost like when somebody says, let's get that on paper. Why don't you write that down? It definitely helps, and that's like the iPad too. It really helps to journal for me. So anyway, I'm going to close there. Thank you, everybody.